Hi, and welcome to Hope, headliners of people on the East End. I'm Dr. Sujay, and it's always exciting to have you with us. Thank you for sparing this time with us, live with Sujay, Hope. And one of the people on the East End that I'm so excited about, who's a headliner, Barbara Roberts. Welcome.
Thank you, Sujay. It is a joy to be here today. Thank you.
Always grateful. Your leadership, your friendship. I just admire all the things you've done. You've been a Suffolk County Commissioner. You just a list, a litany of places. But what things bring you hope? Let's start at the beginning.
Sujay, I just so appreciate the invitation to be on this show that's talking about hope. And I was thinking about it all week, and I realized that three things that I am very involved in and what's my work about. I'm hopeful in a unique way that each of them are truly going to change the world in an amazing way. So the first is the hope about women. I've been studying my entire life women's equality, and all of us who were born who came to the United States after World War II, all of us women, we are the first women in the entire history of mankind, humankind, to have the educational rights, the financial rights, the legal rights, and whatever.
Wow.
And
That's amazing. It
it's
really
amazing.
is. And this is an important point. Exactly.
And we are just starting to, and there's a lot even on women being able to create their own wealth, that it took an act of Congress in 1989 for a woman to be able to get a commercial loan without a man's signature.
That late in life,
Yes.
1989.
40 years ago. So,
Wow. Yes.
this whole movement of women just being totally be able to choose our lives, create our wealth. And also, if more wealth comes to us, we can also share it in the ways we want.
Yeah.
The second thing I'm really work on and that I'm very excited about is innovation and entrepreneurship.
So now you're entrepreneur in residence at both Columbia and Hofstra University.
Absolutely.
So talk to us about entrepreneurship. What are you hopeful about?
I'll come back to that definitely in detail. But the thing that I really am very excited about, which people don't realize, every single person on the planet became an entrepreneur during COVID.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
whether they thought about it or
not. And
Yes.
so it's given people the experience of, if you're faced with a problem and you have to innovate, what is innovation about? What is the secret of entrepreneurship? So that also is something we could talk a little bit more.
Yeah, very much so.
And then the third thing that I'm really very interested in is the life expectancy now. And the fact that us baby boomers,
and I'm a boomer.
Okay,
Yes.
retirement, the 65-year retirement was decided by Bismarck back in the 1800s because virtually no one lived there. We are just recognizing that there is a whole third, fourth chapter for any baby boomer who has relatively good health.
Exactly.
I love Carl Jung and the hero's journey. He talks about this, about the three stages, and that older people, we have a responsibility to be bringing our wisdom back to the community. We should be knowing what our purpose is on the planet now.
Exactly.
And all of that energy, wealth, and stuff. So,
and your mother lived to 101. I actually say it's a fifth chapter. I call it my fabulous fifth chapter.
Fifth, sixth,
you know, exactly. I mean, who says we got to stop at 2 or 3?
Yeah.
So it's amazing. Yeah. But let's go to the entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Because I'm a third generation entrepreneur.
Right.
And you are an entrepreneur in residence. What about COVID particularly made us all entrepreneurs?
I think there's a lot of myths about what an entrepreneur is.
How would you define an entrepreneur?
What makes a successful entrepreneur? Entrepreneurship, or the spirit of entrepreneurship, is totally just the obsession that you're in love with the idea of solving a problem.
Yes.
Okay? Even if we look at the entrepreneurs and the businesses that survive COVID, if you look at the restaurants that survive COVID,
yes,
those restaurant owners were obsessed about the problem they were solving, that they were a community place, that they were wanted to give food, and they adapted. So
exactly, funeral homes, churches had to adapt. So you had to figure out what the problem was and how to solve it.
And if you were obsessed by what your purpose of your business was, or the problem, you gave up all the notions of how you did it, and you were willing to adopt and change. And the second thing I think
Well,
that,
I'm just going to say
yeah,
that's when the birth of the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce came
exactly.
into being, because there were all these women who said, suddenly, we are business women. And so, but how do we make it a business? How do we make sure that legally and everything else is correct? And so, talk to us about the modern entrepreneur.
Yeah, and you started doing it and how to do
Yes.
that.
Mm-hmm.
The second, thing about entrepreneurship, and I think going back to COVID, is people kind of had this feeling that entrepreneurship or innovation was something that came down to you and whatever. Innovation and entrepreneurship, and again, we found this through the COVID experience.
Yeah.
It is totally about looking what you have in the world right now and using your unique experience, your unique background to
Right.
put it together
Yes.
in a new way. So
And it doesn't have to look like anyone else's.
And the point, I work a lot with startups and entrepreneurs, and I particularly work on something called the business model canvas. And the way we teach entrepreneurship now at both Columbia and Hofstra is we can, and also I do startup weekends that I can pull people together and in 2 days help everyone start a company.
I love it.
And the principle of it is using something called the business model canvas, that 9 questions to get started.
Yeah.
You scribble it the first day, and then what you do is you go out and you talk to at least 10 to 40 people. You show them what you want to do.
Oh my goodness.
Students, particularly engineers, particularly doctors, particularly some kinds of people say, there's no way I can do this. I can't show people what my idea is on solving the problem. But again, people have to understand that every person on this planet is put here for a unique purpose.
Exactly.
And
why not it be you? Exactly.
No one is going to solve the problem the same way. Again, think of COVID.
Exactly.
Every mother who had to figure out, or father who had to figure out how they were going to handle their households
and homeschooling and all of it. Yeah.
Every person solved that problem differently.
Exactly.
And again,
and some are still trying to work it out. But is life going to be seen pre-COVID and post-COVID from now on? I mean, is it, now that we're on the other side of it, has life totally changed so much that we really can't go back to where
I totally. I mean, it's absolute. There's nothing. I mean, it's total fantasy to
even
believe
think you can go back.
That we and also it never was. When you look back at the past, it never was the way you're thinking. Okay?
Exactly.
Your mind is a weed tending to take out all the bad nonsense
exactly.
and whatever. So yeah.
So let's talk about, a lot of businesses started doing a digital period. Zoom just blew up. I wish I had stock in it at that time.
Yeah.
But what happens now when people are saying, I still miss that personal touch? I started doing digital, but I want to touch a person. I want to be in person. What do we do?
Things go back and forth.
Yeah.
And everything, particularly in technology or any social trend, anything goes too far, and
has to come back.
And humanness brings it back. So I think the positive of that is the appreciation.
Yes.
Of the personal interaction.
Yes.
Because
we are humans, that we connect at the heart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think certainly I think most people would generally say that we do need communities. You can do a community to some extent on a Zoom conference, but anyone who's truly kind of doing an institution, running something, any leader, I really believes that at least on a regular basis, you have to have the real interaction, the side conversation.
Exactly.
Watching the body language.
Exactly. And time for Q&A and engagement.
Yeah.
Exactly. But now let's go back. You were on the cover of Crain's magazine. I think we have a picture of it here. But you were on the cover of Crain's magazine as a civic hero.
Yeah.
Talk to us.
In diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Now that's amazing. Talk to us about that. I
think that was like, you have to double check the year. I think that was like 3 years ago. Which is also interesting to me. That was the first time that Crain's tried to identify the people who were really doing great work in DEI. And it's been it's been my passion
Wonderful.
my entire life. I mean, anyone who hears me speak always hears that I ask from right from the beginning of my life. I've asked myself two questions every morning when I get out of bed. What can I do today to help women get their fair share of the political and economic pie?
I'm loving it.
And my second question is, what can I do today to teach someone how to innovate, problem solve, particularly to create new opportunities for wealth, jobs, and whatever. So my first life definitely was known as a leader in the women's space. In second grade,
My
I
goodness.
walked into the auditorium and I was the tallest person in my class.
Yes, that's
And
we're also
it
connected.
became, exactly, it was totally logical to me that the tallest person, human in the class, should be carrying the American flags. I was told only boys could carry the American flag.
I remember those days in
Second
the
grade, okay?
Wow.
My first sit-down strike was in second grade. We sat, all us girls sat down.
I love it.
Okay,
I
so
love it.
within a half hour, I was.
And I started the girls' basketball team.
Exactly.
Because they said only boys could
Exactly.
play in the Rucker League. And I was like, really?
Yeah. So, I consider you and I women who are particularly born close to like the end of World War II,
Yes.
like in the 45 to 50. Like dear friend Sally Helgeson came up with this term for us. They call us she called us the everyday revolutionaries. And I'm sure
I love
that is
Mhm.
something I love to talk about because so many things that happened to me. First woman to wear pants to an office.
Yes.
When
yes.
my college, when I started in freshman year, we had to wear skirts.
I
Curfew
remember
at
those
10.
Yes.
By the time I was a senior, boys were allowed in dorms and whatever. So
Exactly. I went to Riverdale Country School, so it was skirts and knee socks.
Yeah.
But then about 11th grade, my last year
Yeah.
there, we could start wearing pants. And,
Yeah.
just even trying to find pants for girls
Yeah.
because there were pants for boys our height.
Yeah.
But, trying to find feminine things. But would you call yourself a feminist?
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely.
Because I grew up with Gloria Steinem and
Yeah,
Ms. Magazine.
I actually would call myself a humanist now, but I have no problem being also called that I'm a champion of women. But I actually probably would prefer to be called a humanist because I have a strong belief that by helping women or every person get as far as they can,
Yes.
we all are helped.
Exactly.
And so-
Without question. We're 51% of the population of the world. We have to be there.
And also we do. I've also really appreciate that we do have a different perspective, a different kind of energy, and there's so much research now that diverse teams I also when I've run my companies, I'm a champion of true diversity on ages, religion.
Exactly. Well, there's a Black female faith movement called womanist theology, which is a response even to feminism, saying that from a Black perspective, things are very different. And so it was created by a woman named Katie Cannon, and it's called womanism. And so, we have different perspectives, but we all want to make sure that women have our fair share, definitely.
Yeah.
So women, wealth, what about wellness? That's another word now. Does wealth help us to stay well?
Well, we can't have a mother living to 101. Before this, every woman in my family who I know about died of a heart attack by the time they were 65 or so. So heart disease was there.
Yes.
So certainly, and she really taught herself early on the simple things to do on that. So I think certainly those of us, and I so respect your background, also Sujay, those of us who really step up to be leaders, men, women, anyone, we have to look after ourselves.
We do.
I don't think we talk enough about it, that those of us who sustain energy and whatever, that's what we do. And
I'm leading a group of Black women faith leaders, and I've created what's called Selah by the Sea, which is to help us pause, and just take some time, because we're so busy, particularly caregivers in the inner city are always giving and giving. But what happens when you give out? Somebody has to restore you. So it's very important that we do wealth, wellness, and have some wisdom. Yeah. Who are the women that inspired you?
I actually, being really early in the women's, there were very few,
Women role models. Yeah,
I
sure.
mean, it's more of my contemporaries.
Okay.
There's certainly, I was around New York, in the days of Gloria Steinem.
Mm-hmm.
In the Wall Street word, Vicky Siebert was definitely
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
a leader. I really, it was more my contemporaries, and I was, very involved with the Financial Women's Association, the Committee of 200. I was in a peer group where Barbara Corcoran and was part of our group that we had lunch together for like a month. So
yes.
in those early days of us kind of stepping out of the, going to work, being
exactly.
the first women there, the support really came from building the relationships with each other.
Exactly.
And there was a little bit of the generation older than us that had a little bit of what we called the queen bee syndrome. There was a little bit of the women who were a little older than I who did try to identify more with the guys and actually
exactly.
even fought when we fought. We still don't have an equal rights amendment,
I know,
in New York
still,
State or whatever. I was
still.
very involved with that. And in the days that was in front of being pushed, many traditional older women thought that was harmful to us. So
yeah,
it's good. So
we're products of our tradition.
Yeah, so I believe up here, and I also when I talk to women and younger women or whatever, I feel really strongly building your people around you a positive energy.
Yes.
And really having very close women friends that you can run things by it's almost more important than having the role models.
Exactly.
I mean, there's so many women to admire now.
Yeah. So who do you admire? Because you pour out to so many, but who kind of pours into you?
I love Oprah and Michelle.
Oh yes, Oprah and Michelle.
Who could not?
Yes,
I mean, I do.
Yes.
Okay. I love and even you, Sujay. I mean, really, admiring your kind of work. They truly that's.
But you know that they're special when you can just use one name and everybody knows who you're talking about. Oprah, Michelle, and now even Gayle King is actually becoming, Oprah's friend and colleague. But you can just say that one name and know. And now I say Barbara. And they know I mean either Barbara Corcoran or Barbara Roberts. They know who I was.
I do have to share one thing with you. When I was building one of my companies that revolutionized the photography industry in '97 when the internet started. And Barbara Roberts. Barbie's real name is Barbara Roberts.
So, are you serious? Oh my goodness! So I'm sitting with the real star.
Barbie.
Yes, I'm sitting with Barbie. You didn't know who I had here. How amazing is that?
Her middle name is Millicent. That's not my middle name.
So talk to us. You ran for an office. I ran for Congress in Harlem in 2016.
Yeah.
Learned a lot of lessons. What did you learn from running for mayor of North Haven?
Oh, it was fun. It was very, very, very spontaneous decision. I had been watching things that were happening. We've been looking for someone to run for a while. There was, it was a little sad because the fear aspect, even in our small village of 1,500, kept people from stepping up, which, it's a tragedy that people are afraid to step up. And I have to say, I was kind of shocked about some of the rumors and distortion of, even in a small bit, people who know me very well, that was, but I've been asked about, how did I have the courage to do it?
The courage.
But it wasn't courage; it was curiosity.
Okay.
And it's also kind of in this whole conversation of hope, of what keeps my hope up.
Yes.
It is. I think you have to be courageous to be a hero or to go out and run for mayor when everybody kind of said, "What are you doing?" But it was more the curiosity of the experience. And it also had been a tiny thing in the back of my mind. If I were a younger woman, I would have had a more of a political career. It was not a step that I, at different times, I've done amazing things. And I also have actually been appointed to a number of government positions. And I actually came to understand I do prefer being appointed.
Oh my goodness, I had 3 appointments. And so now that's the only way to go. But even in both, I found that the lesson I learned is you have to have your yeses line up, whether you're being appointed and have to go through Senate confirmation hearing as I did, or running for Congress. You have to have people who have already said yes, and they're also helping push you there and keep you there. Did you find that as well?
Oh, I only stepped up for running for mayor because I had at least 20 people who had been asking. I actually had, I think it was 10 days to get enough signatures even to run.
Wow.
And I was able to get actually about 50% more signatures than any of the other. So it was,
that's amazing.
Which helped.
Yes.
And I did not win, but I definitely found the core group of people in our community who share the same kind of vision that I have, which is very much about improving our environment.
Yes.
I think around, we're talking, this your program is primarily geared to the East End, and I like many people do not think we're doing enough to clean up our water, and we are definitely not doing enough to prepare for major weather insanity,
which is happening.
Sea level rise.
Yes, definitely. I was watching the Olympic preparation in Paris, and the mayor went into the Seine River yesterday because it had been so polluted. It took 9 years for them to get, so now the swimmers can actually use it during the Olympics.
That's amazing.
But it was that polluted. They were taking bicycles and cups out of the river. But
Hudson had that kind of experience. We've done a great job of.
I lived on the Hudson, in Riverdale. So I always ask a formula: A plus B plus C equals success. What has been your A, B, and C? Do you feel you're successful?
I'm not driven by success.
Okay, good. Good answer. Yes.
I believe that every single person on the planet is here for a purpose.
Yes.
And if I were going to define success, well, maybe I should say I have it's what not that
tell us how you define
it's more
success.
how would I define it. It actually it's people who are conscious about that. That's why you're here, are making decisions to test why they're here, learn why they're here, and what I kind of like most about myself is that I do ask myself these 2 questions every morning, which real clarity.
Give us those 2 questions again.
And those 2 questions are, what can I do today to help women get their fair share of the political and economic pie?
I love it.
And what can I do today to help someone learn how to solve a problem so they particularly can create new opportunities, new wealth, new equity?
That's awesome.
If you look at you mentioned that I've done, I've been an entrepreneur, I've been government people, I've first woman who did a number of things on Wall Street. I was in the article that coined the term the glass ceiling. If you look at the pattern of everything.
Yes.
And even going back to where you asked me why I was on the cover as a civic hero, they also were recognizing corporate people. Michael Garner, who did an amazing job at the MTA, he was like the #1 person who was honored. But I was very honored to be asked to be there as a civic hero, which and the person who nominated talked about this, that no matter what I did, whether it was a personal conversation with friends, anything that I always was looking to move the needle, particularly for women and others who had been lost behind, no matter what I did. And
let me say thank you on behalf of women, on behalf of myself. No, because I met you in a program, Ascend program at Hofstra, because you were trying to move the needle again. And you continue to do that. We're no longer in the program because it's done. But you continue to say, what introductions can I make? Or someone who's doing something similar, how can I put you together? I think that's so important.
As an alum of that program, you still are in the program.
But I'll play my alumni history well.
No,
but I think that's so important because that's the point, that it does not end because a program or a date says that you commenced or you have your commencement, but that it really begins at that point because you have relationships. And I think that's one of the greatest things that happened for me with this and meeting you,
Yeah,
actually.
with two of us.
Yes,
Yeah,
we just connected at the
yeah,
hip and then
absolutely.
found out we were neighbors. City life, East End life.
Mhm.
Do you miss the city?
I've been a permanent resident out here since I bought for over 40 years.
Oh my goodness,
I
okay.
bought my house in 82 and I have it's my registered, and as I've shared with you, I've built and sold a few companies, and my life up until I would say before COVID was pretty consistent, that a third of my time I was here, a third of my time I actually was in the city, and a third of the time I traveled. Certainly in the COVID, I primarily was out here, and I also have built numerous international businesses. One company in particular took me to China every other month, where I literally went around the world every month. So I'm actually kind of particularly looking at this time of putting deeper roots here in the local community, as many of us are. I think there's many, particularly older people, who are finding a way to be here full time, and there's some really interesting communities and amazing people who are living here now full time.
They really are. Most of us moved out here during COVID because we were like, why should we be in this little apartment and can't go anywhere? And so we have this new wonderful village, village of Sag Harbor that I live in, town of East Hampton. But it's just so beautiful to wake up and see the birds and see the water and splashing. Well, you see that regularly, but
but we also, those of us who are spending, all of us we have to also care about this. I mean, certainly there's some real challenges with the growth of particularly the year-round weekend population has exploded, and certainly the year-round permanent resident population also is up substantially, and there's some changing demographics, which is another reason why I ran for mayor, because the pressure to build bigger homes, where many of us believe that we should have some tighter restrictions on that, and really I think it's about educating all of us who are living here now the simple steps that we can and should be taking to particularly protect this stays the way it is.
So what's a simple step, and I think we're about out of time, but what's a simple step that you think we can take to just starting today that residents out here could take to make a difference?
It's not the big problems aren't today. The biggest problem that at least we see in North Haven is we do not have public sewer systems. And the upgrade of cesspools is definitely, septic systems is definitely the number one thing that there are grants available that people can do it, but there's a wait list to do it. And so the biggest kind of change that we immediately could do to improve our water is that. And the second thing is perhaps to look at the kind of fertilizers that we're using. And also, if you happen to be near water, is definitely to keep clearing down, but to be conscious of what, particularly probably tomorrow, is what you're putting on the ground, because the ground is any fertilizer, any of the bad tick sprays or whatever, that is going into our water table. We're on a pile of rocks in Long Island, and so that water goes out into the bays. We have some very serious bacteria problems in most of our water here that we need to be paying more attention to.
Well, I hope you read my book. It's called My Fabulous Fifth Chapter. We're going to have a cover story for you, but it's My Fabulous Fifth Chapter, and the subtitle, It's My Turn Now. And it's for women over 50 to just kind of have some fun. So it's actually out on Judson Press, and you can get it on Amazon. But I want to know, what do you do for fun as our last question?
God, dance and music.
Okay, I love it.
We have so many arts around here, but live music. Can I do a shout out? Just please, if you are new to this community, look to support all of the live music venues out here at LTV. Amazing programs going on. Talk House, Bay Street in the winter. I mean, I love music and really supporting.
That's a great ending. How can people find you? Is there a website?
The best way to find me is on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
Barbara Roberts, but you have to put Columbia and Hofstra, or you may find Barbie doll.
Yes, I love it.
But if you Google, LinkedIn is the best way. I do retreats and things to help on women leadership,
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, startup weekends, and
And we're going to
also
do some
helping.
things together. I look
Yeah.
forward to it, definitely. And I thank you for sharing with us. This is Dr. Sujay. The show is Hope, headliners of people on the East End. And we hope that you had some hope as a result of this show. My guest has been the delightful Barbara Roberts. I want you to get my book, my fabulous fifth chapter, It's My Turn Now by Dr. Sujay. And I just hope that you'll have some fun with the rest of your life. So I say, may the best of your life be the rest of your life. And may the rest of your life be the best of your life. Thank you for staying with us. A shout out to my whole LTV team. Thank you for making this happen always. Until the next time, I'll see you soon. Dr. Sujay signing off.